Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. I'm actually pretty pleased with this new format when it comes to just how we're setting this up and how we're knocking them down. This is, I think, my third recording session with the podcasts, and I'm starting to become a little bit more comfortable with the longer form talking. Although I also feel like I should probably plan a little bit more rather than just rambling off like I have been doing for the last 27 seconds. But anyway, this time I wanted to talk about post-project depression, which I believe I've talked about in the past. I know I've talked about it in a creative exploration series, but I think I also talked about it in the prior year of the Patreon podcast. And seeing as my August was so crazy, and this is something that I've been dealing with directly over the past 2-3 weeks now, I figure I should talk about it a little bit more. Partially because I wanted to talk about just how I've been dealing with it. I don't know if this will help anybody else. Sorry, I'm kind of just readjusting a little bit here. I don't know if this will help anybody else, but I really wanted to talk about it a little bit more because it's just important. And it's one of those things that sneaks up on you. And when it sneaks up on you, just like normal depression, it's something that you didn't really know you had until you've been dealing with it for like 2 weeks. And then you just look back at the past couple days and it's just like, why am I just so sad and out of it all the time? And it's because, at least in this case, it's because of post-project depression. Like, for those of you who aren't familiar, if you have a big project, something that's been taking a lot of your time, and a lot of your mental capacity, just a lot of like your day-to-day thinking is about this and how you're going to do this and how you're going to accomplish it. And then all of a sudden you're done with that project. You're done working on it. It's released. But your brain has gotten into this habit where you're still thinking about it and you're still thinking about all the things that you could do to change it and make it better, but it's done and it's released and you can't. And there's this conflict that's going on mentally that is just causing you to spin your wheels, kind of. And you just kind of end up in this state where you can't do anything, or you feel like you should be doing something and you're not able to. I say it's called post-project depression because it's a little bit like postpartum depression. And by no means is releasing an album anywhere close to the difficulty of having a baby. But the idea remains the same, where when you're pregnant, you're thinking about this and you're planning on it, and your entire schedule revolves around this one, life. And then all of a sudden this life is released into the world and everything changes, everything shifts. Like, you're still spending your time, but it's not in the same way. And like, I believe, and I'm not a doctor, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's kind of what postpartum depression is, where it's just like you've gotten into this habit at living a certain way for 6 to 9 months, depending on how difficult the beginning of the pregnancy was. And suddenly everything's different, and all those habits that you generated and all those things that you had to deal with, they're all different. The brain is very bad at predicting the future, even a couple days out. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but when I'm sick, when I have like the flu or something else, and I've been sick for like 2 days, all I can think about is I'm going to spend the rest of my life feeling like this. And obviously that's not true. You get over that stuff. You get better, and like your sinuses clear up, or even allergies. Like right now I'm getting hit with some pretty miserable allergies. And it's just like all that stuff clears up and goes away eventually, but your brain doesn't think about it like that. Your brain is just like, this is how it's going to be forever, because that's just how it thinks. And it's very easy to get wrapped up in that thinking. But I'm getting off topic. I had some pretty severe post-project depression because I had been working on so many things at the same time. And I still am working on some of those stuff. Like I am still working on marketing Color Jumper and releasing Death Drives a Bus. I'm recording this on the 10th of September. But I also feel that it's just like once all of that big push was done, like all of that mental load freed up. And I had no idea what to do with it. I believe the first weekend in September was after everything was released and out there and I didn't have to worry about it anymore. I just kind of sat there and just like, I feel like I should be doing something, but there was nothing to do, at least related to those projects. And it's such a weird feeling because you feel like you should be working, you should be doing something. You have all of these deadlines that you need to meet, but those deadlines were a week ago and they're done and over with. And really, I guess the best advice I have for this kind of stuff to ride it out is to find something mindless to do, like play video games or like watch a movie or two, or like try to find busy work to do if you really need to scratch that itch of just getting something done. Like there's always busy work for me to do, like either organizing old recordings or like prepping an album or just kind of going through some of my old Excel spreadsheets and updating them. Like I have a spreadsheet for all the 2-hour track challenges I've done and all this other stuff. And there's always something that you could be doing, but I think it's more important to invest that time into just trying to relax and just trying to not think about that. Essentially just rebuilding new habits where you don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. So you can resolve it from your mind. You can just take it out there and just release it. And it's not as easy as that sounds, but it's kind of what you have to do. Like most things, especially depression, it just takes time. And above it just taking time, I feel like it also takes the knowledge that it's happening. Depression is very sneaky that way, at least for me, and I think for a lot of people, but it's very sneaky that way where you don't really know you have it until you've had it for a week or two. And then you look back and you realize that the past couple days have not been great. And you start to realize why they haven't been great. And it's because you've not been in a great mood or like your energy levels have dropped. And it's just, you have to be very mindful, very, very mindful of like how you are doing physically and mentally. And it's easy to lose sight of that. And I've mentioned before using the app Dailyo to track kind of a journal. And I still think that it's really valuable to have that. Like I definitely can look through my August and see where my mood dipped and kind of it went back up at the end of August when everything got released on like the Switch and I was in a great mood. And then all of a sudden I just tanked and I didn't know why. And it was because like all of a sudden this was something that I didn't have to worry about anymore, but it was still very, very much on my mind. And there just wasn't much I could do about that. So yeah, it's just being aware of that stuff is just so important just to keep your mental health in a good place because that stuff can spiral out of control pretty quickly. And I don't know. It's just tough. I guess that's really everything I had for this one. I guess it's a bit of a shorter one compared to the other episodes, but I really just wanted to talk about my experience with this a little bit more and specifically about the latest episode of post-project depression that I had. And it was okay. For some reason, I wasn't expecting it to happen, considering what happened throughout most of August. I should have, but I didn't. And that was something that, I probably could have better planned for, but, here we are. And I mean, I'm just kind of working on finishing up all the other small things that I have to do. And then hopefully I'll be in such a better place in the future for me to both create new content for you guys, but also just kind of focus on interesting small projects that I want to work on. I started a new game that I'll probably be talking about a little bit by the time this comes out. Well, I hope it will be. I'll be talking about it a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited. So that's pretty much everything I have. Again, thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Be remarkable.